Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about a little about inflation and kind of what's been going on. Kind of want to let everybody know exactly what's been happening in terms of why some of your wallets are going higher, or not your wallets, but your costs are going higher. Things are getting increasingly worse, etc., etc. And I kind of want to explain that and show you guys into why and kind of have you guys prepare better. So let's get right into the article, and hopefully you guys are able to feed yourselves and are able to also pay for gas. I know there's a lot of people that can't, and I apologize for that. I really want the economy to be better. I want people to be able to thrive and function. Always rise up, always get better. That is the American way, in my personal opinion. I think by reaching higher points in society, to where everybody benefits, is a great thing. Of course, there are some things that we have to talk about when the benefits may affect millions of other people specifically. But overall, I want a place where everybody benefits. And right now, this country is not benefiting Americans at all. Inflation surges 9.1% in June, accelerating more than expected to new 40-year high. Inflation accelerated more than expected to a new four-decade high in June as the price of everyday necessities remained painfully high, exacerbating a financial strain for millions of Americans and worsening a political crisis for President Joe Biden. The Labor Department said Wednesday that the Consumer Price Index, a broad measure of the price for everyday goods, including gasoline, groceries, and rents, rose 9.1% in June from a year ago. Prices jumped 1.3% in the one-month period from May. Those figures were both far higher than the 8% headline figure and 1% monthly gain forecast by Fed economists. It marks the fastest pace of inflation since September 1981. So-called core prices, which include more volatile measurements of food, energy, and climbed 5.9% from the previous year. Core prices are also rose 0.7% on a monthly basis, higher than in April and May, suggesting that underlying inflationary pressure remains strong and widespread. Price increases are extensive, suggesting that the inflation may not be near its peak. Energy prices rose 7.5% in June from the previous month and are up to 41.6% from last year. Gasoline on average cost 59.9% more than it did 1 year ago and 11.2% more than it did in May. The food index, meanwhile, climbed 1% in June as consumers pay more for items like cereal, chicken, milk, and fresh vegetables. And another worrisome sign, shelter costs, which account for roughly one-third of the CPI, sped up in June and climbing 0.6%, matching an 18-year high set in May. On an annual basis, shelter costs have climbed 5.6%, the fastest since February 1991. Rent costs also surged in June, jumping 0.8% over the month, the largest monthly increase since April 1986. Rising rents are a concerning development because higher housing costs most directly and acutely affect household budgets. Another data point that measures how much homeowners would pay in equivalent rent if they had not bought their home also jumped 0.7% in June from the previous month. People shop for frozen food at a store in the Rosemead, California on June 28. Now, guys, you all have to understand that this is just from June. This is not counting this month, the new month, July. So the June has risen up quite a bit since then. So, 9.1%. So it's gone about a percent or so to 0.2% or 0.3%, and in a 1 month's time. So that means the inflation is still rising, guys. It's not going down. It's rising, and that's concerning for everyone. And again, this is Joe Biden. Joe Biden did this. Let me put it in perspective for you. If you keep on devaluing the American dollar and you keep on spending on things that you shouldn't be spending on, or rather, in general, it's going to increase the dollar. The dollar amount of the dollar is going to decrease, and you're going to get wilder inflation. So I don't see why this is not being talked about more. So stocks fell following the report, while government bond yields jumped. Scorching how inflation has created severe financial pressures for most U.S. households, which are forced to pay more every pay more every day, necessities like food, gasoline, and rent. The burden is disproportionately borne by low-income Americans, whose already stretched paychecks are heavily impacted by price fluctuations. Although American workers have seen strong wage gains in recent months, inflation has largely eroded those real average hourly earnings decreased 1% in June from the previous month when accounted for higher consumer prices. According to the Labor Department, on an annual basis, real earnings actually dropped 3.6% in June. Rapid inflation and the rapid dissolution of Americans' buying power has become a major political liability for Biden ahead of the November midterm elections, in which Democrats are expected to lose their already razor-thin majorities. Surveys show that Americans see inflation as the biggest problem facing the country, and that many households blame Biden for the price spike, which is true. I don't know how bad it's going to get. I'm not really an economist. I just know that it has not been good, and we're probably going to see the inflation keep on rising, especially with the more random spending. We need to cut back on the spending, and we need to try to find ways to fix this actual issue. And Biden hasn't been doing it. We need to get our own oil companies going up. We need to get more oil rigs coming up. We need to have a lot more stuff going up, so that way we can really tackle this problem. And we're not going to be able to tackle this problem without without combating the current issues at hand. The president has blamed higher prices on greedy corporations, supply chain bottlenecks, and other pandemic-induced disruptions in the economy, as well as the Russian war in Ukraine. Most economists now agree that the unprecedented levels of government stimulus and a stronger than expected recovery from the pandemic have also played at least some role in accelerating the gas price. Yes, the stimulus check was the worst thing that they could do, because that's one of the main reasons why, if not at all, is why the inflation is so high to begin with. It's because of the stimulus checks. And if you keep on putting in stimulus checks, it's going to keep on making it worse, not better. In a statement after reports released, Biden acknowledged that inflation is unacceptably high and called tackling it his top priority. It's not your top priority, because if it was, you would put back oil rigs and stuff like that, and the oil pipeline and all that, all back into operation, because that is the way to fix the problem. And stop spending. But he suggested that the data is out of date, arguing that record high gas prices are to blame for the ugly CPI reading, and noted that prices at the pump have been subsided. No, they haven't. No, they haven't. While today's headline inflation reading is unacceptably high, it is also out of date, Biden said. Today's data does not reflect the full impact of nearly 30 days of decrease in gas prices. There is not a decrease. There is none. It may decrease a tiny bit, but it's not enough to warrant anything at all for the American people. Because they're still paying a lot, not in just gas, Biden, but food! It's not just gas, it's also food. Wake up! Wait, you can't wake up because you're too senile to realize. That have reduced the price at the pump by 40% since mid-June. Yeah, like, it will do that maybe in a year. Not now. Those savings are providing important breathing room for American families. The worse-than-expected report will also have major implications for the Federal Reserve, likely solidifying a series of progressive rate hikes as central bank officials try to tame inflation. Yeah, because Biden was selling 5-something billion or million or billion, one of those two. No, it's a million of barrels to China. To China! Okay? Maybe that's why. Policymakers already raised the benchmark interest rate by 75 basis points last month for the first time since 1994, and I confirmed that a similarly sized increase is on the table in July. With inflation running even harder than economists expected in June, Wall Street is now ramping up the odds of mega-sized 100 basis point like in July. About 38% of traders are now pitching in the chances of a 100 basis point increase later this month. According to the CME Group's Fed Watch tool, which tracks trading, still the Fed is in a precarious situation as it walks the line between cooling consumer demand and bringing inflation closer to its 2% target without inadvertently dragging the economy into a recession. Hiking rates tend to create higher rates on consumer and business loans, which slows the economy by forcing employers to cut back on spending. Inflation continues to broaden out with prices increases inside the core, implying that it will require strong and sustained policy action out of the Federal Reserve that risks sending the company into recession early next year. Joe Bercettis, RCM chief economist, said, in our estimation, there is a 45% probability of a recession over the next 12 months. Oh, there you have it, guys. Looks like things are going to get worse. We might actually enter a huge depression as well if the things keep on going here. And I don't see it getting better anytime soon. People that are going to say, "Oh, we're going to be fine. We're going to be all right." No, we're not, because obviously the inflation is increasing. It's not decreasing, and with the same amount of stuff, it's just not going to be okay. So, yeah. I mean, some people get what they vote for, right? They vote for Biden and they get the separate results. But I'm also very, very sorry for people that are suffering and cannot afford food or gas. I hope everything gets better for you guys, and stay safe out there. That's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.